Hello, welcome to another How to Code Well web chat. My name is Peter Fisher, and today I would like to discuss my predictions for 2017 in regard to web development and mobile development, because I think 2017 is going to be quite an interesting year for us devs. The first one I would like to talk about is the workflow, because I think there might be some changes to how we or the services that we use for deploying and testing and developing websites or just applications in general. At the moment, you see, we've got different services that we can use on the internet, such as Scrutinizer and Travis, and for testing. And then you've got things like Jenkins and Ant scripts that can do builds and build servers. You've got other things like Deploy HQ that can deploy stuff. I think what will happen is that someone will develop a solution that can either talk to those things or have those things, within their sort of environment, within their package. And so what I'm thinking is like an off-the-shelf solution where you can log into a control panel and just say, I need, 2 testing servers, a deployment server, a Git repository, 3 production load balance servers, MySQL, that kind of thing, and it produces this pipeline, this deployment pipeline for you, and in a sort of a self-contained, sort of managed way. And it could either use other services like Travis or GitHub or Scrutinizer, Deploy HQ, but just this sort of central sort of place where you can manage all of those things. And yes, I do appreciate that you've got the likes like AWS that can do all this stuff, but really the user interface is pretty. There's quite a large, steep learning curve with those kind of things. It'd be nice to have something that is a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more intuitive. And so I think that either Amazon themselves or someone else next year will come into that sort of domain and allow for these deployment pipelines, these development deployment pipelines to be produced, these build pipelines to be produced quite easily and without the need for a lot of these expertise, because there's a lot of glue that needs to happen between these things, like SSH keys and firewalls and opening and closing certain ports and stuff like that. It takes a bit of time, right? So if there was this solution that could do all of this for you, just by filling out a couple of forms and provisioning these things, then I think that would be pretty awesome, and I think that is going to come in 2017. Now, the push for all of this has really come, my idea of this has really come from the merge between development on one side, and then you've got infrastructure and ops on the other. It's turning into like DevOps. And so Docker has really pushed this fairly hard, and more and more these developers, us as developers, are actually creating the environments, right? Setting up environments locally using Docker, and actually getting involved more in the infrastructure side of things. And so I think this workflow thing will just use that quite easily, and you just say, spin these things up and it'll go off and do it, or send me your Docker files and it'll go up and do it, and so forth. So that's more of the business type side predictions for 2017. The next is moving now into the programming type stuff. So JavaScript has done really well with ES26 and NPM and it's being used far more. In fact, it's being used in places that it traditionally never used to be used in. So, for example, on the server, right? So with ES26, there's some new toys that are going to come out, or hopefully come out, around running server-sided, doing server-sided things, but within the client. So, for example, compiling databases and then running those databases on the client. Now, that was just not heard of. That was just magic. That was just crazy fantasy stuff a few years ago. But now you can actually do it. You can actually, with the new toys, you can go off and compile different server-based technologies down, which is insane, which is crazy, right? So that's going to have a massive impact, especially I feel, to the mobile side, because at the moment you've got Appcelerator, right? Appcelerator is the de facto solution for creating cross-platform mobile applications using JavaScript. So you write JavaScript, you write Alloy.js, you write Backbone.js, and then you compile it down to the native iOS and Android and Windows Phone and mobile web environments or platforms, and everybody's a winner. But with the new JavaScript technologies that are coming through, I think there's going to be new frameworks off the back of this, and those frameworks are going to do the stuff that Appcelerator does in slightly different and perhaps even better manner. Competition is great, and I think that there's going to be new frameworks, new JavaScript frameworks, specifically for mobile applications, and I think we might start seeing that start to happen probably at the back of 2017, and I'm really excited for that, because more competition, more choice, and more toys to play with. The next thing, moving away from the client-sided stuff, I suppose you can still call it client-sided safely at the moment, is PHP. So PHP 7 came out, and in my opinion, the adoption rate for PHP 7 that I've been aware of hasn't been that fantastic, and that's partly due to the whole "if it's not broken, don't fix it" mentality, right? So requesting to change from PHP 5.6 to 7 requires you obviously need to test it, right? Because there's quite a large change. So regression tests, unit tests, integration tests, all of those kind of things. But it's not solving any immediate issues for just general work, right? So it's a step, obviously a massive step in the right direction for performance and all of that stuff. I'm not going to list all the things that PHP 7 can do over the older versions, because that'll take me ages. But when you're trying to argue the case of moving to PHP 7, you have to say, look, you need to test this stuff. This stuff obviously needs to be tested. But the counter argument is that you're not actually going to, apart from performance, there isn't anything crazy. There's no newness. It's not solving anything. But it will happen. It will happen, especially with the push with Ubuntu, putting that in as the default PHP version. You then have a upgrade path that you're sort of forced down, and so you would need to push with PHP 7. Also, with Docker, the ability to just snap a PHP version in quite quickly and easily, I think will make the PHP 7 adoption better. So at the back of 2017, I think we'll see more PHP 7 websites, and to be honest, that's a given, right? Because that's just the way it goes. At the moment, I'm seeing a lot of places where the unit testing isn't done as as thoroughly as it should do, and so there is a risk. There is a bit of nervousness around jumping such from PHP 5.6 to 7 because there isn't a confidence level in the current application that it's being tested, and so you can't just pull the tablecloth off and expect the cutlery to still be in the same place. So that's the PHP 7 thing. I also think that that there's going to be more event-driven stuff coming out in 2017. I think there's a need for that. I think there's a lot of processes that web development and mobile development do that require events to be triggered. More so perhaps from the mobile side, because with mobile you've got the challenge of requesting and sending data to a server, but perhaps not doing it right away. So for example, you could lose Wi-Fi signal, you could lose mobile data signal, and so you end up scheduling these things, you end up queuing these things, and then having some sort of poller that picks these transactions, I suppose you could call them, and then firing them all off as a batch or one by one to the server, and you end up with like these queuing systems like RabbitMQ or SQS for AWS, and acting upon these jobs, these workloads, right? So I just think that events, triggering events and things is quite an important part of web development now, more so than it used to. Working on small little tasks and then having those tasks work on other tasks and so forth. So you're triggering a chain effect almost. So perhaps we might see a framework that is probably built on other frameworks, but specifically for or components of other frameworks, I should say, but specifically event-driven. I think would be good. So, and my last one is a bit of a wild card. The last one is Agile. I think is becoming a little bit too crazy, and I think it's going to get even more crazier next year. I think it's slowly, in my opinion, becoming the parts of it are becoming failures from their own success. They are so Agile is fantastic. I really love Agile, but I think when you take it to the extreme, it becomes a little bit nonsensical and just a bit strange. So, for example, just as an example, I looked at something the other day about Agile bananas. And it was changing, or it was trying to explain how you can split epics up into little stories, and measuring the unit of effort to do each of these stories as fruit, right? And so you're instead of saying it's going to take me 2 hours to produce this to finish this task, you end up saying it's going to take 4 bananas, and then those bananas can then equate to something. Why do we need to do this? What's the point? Why are we overcomplicating it? Why are we playing with terminology? It's just tasks, right? At the end of the day, you have a sprint, which is off the back of and a bunch of user stories, and epics and so forth. I get that to me makes perfect sense. But I don't really subscribe to the breaking it down so much that you're now talking about other units of measure in fruit. I thought it was I don't know. I don't think we need to go that far, because you're just overcomplicating it. But hey, I'm happy to be proven wrong. but perhaps next year we'll be talking more about bananas. Yeah, so I think Agile is becoming a little bit crazy, but certainly Agile is far better than the other methodologies such as waterfall, because that's just a pain in the ass. But anyway, these are my predictions for 2017. I'm more than happy to hear what yours are. So if you've got any, then please leave them in the comments section below. Do like this video if you thought it was any good, and I shall speak to you all later. Thank you. Bye.